Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the February Village Board meeting. If you could please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us, we'd appreciate that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks. There are agendas on the back table. If you weren't able to get one, they're back there for you. We're going to start this evening with our staff reports. Altamont Fire Department, do you have anything additional?
Nothing else to add.
Okay, nothing tonight. Public Works, we don't have Jeff with us this evening. I'll just give a brief update. So I'm going to move this over a little so I can be heard a little better. There we go. They have been, DPW has been working, as you can see, on snow removal and, snow placement, getting ready for possibly some others. I don't know if it's going to be a storm or something coming through this week. I can hope it passes us, but they've been working on that, some maintenance of equipment, and that is what's been going on this month with them. Reminder, as a courtesy, of course, the village DPW comes through during storms and plows sidewalks, but one thing to remember for those of you at home, that the sidewalk in front of your home, try to keep it free of ice so people aren't slipping. That is part of the homeowner's responsibility. So we just want to remind you that because I think it might be a little icy coming up this week. That's what it sounds like anyway. I'm going to go to the police department, and I'm going to look for Chief and see if he has anything additional he'd like to share with the board and the public.
Sure. Is this on?
Yes, I believe so.
Hello. Okay. Yep. I just wanted to take a minute to comment that we got movement from DOT. We've been approved to get the flashing signs. I think that people have probably seen that in the news. At the crosswalk at Grand and Main to help with assisting the kids crossing there. So that's good. It's been a little while in coming, so, but that's a step in the right direction, and I wanted to welcome Jay McCaney, hopefully, before the end of tonight here. He comes with a wealth of knowledge and experience, and he'd be a great addition to the department, and that's it.
Excellent. I want to thank you for coming in the back, and thank Jason very much for his work. He did all of the legwork in getting the flashing lights, for the Grand Street, Main Street intersection. We had a resident reach out to us, and then she worked with Jason, and he worked with the state, and it went back and forth for a while with a lot of reminders, but we thank you for doing that. So I think everyone's really excited about that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to the treasurer's report. We've had all have a chance to review the vouchers and the abstracts in the back. Could I have a motion to accept this month's report?
So moved.
John is first and second.
I'll second.
Nick, and roll call, please.
Trustee Canal?
In favor?
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Okay. We're moving on to the public comment portion of our meeting. If you have a comment you'd like to share with the board, the mic is yours. Just tell us who you are when you come up and what you would like to tell us.
Go ahead. Just a quick question. Go ahead. Is it before the hearing?
Yes, public comment is always before the public hearing. So if you have a comment on the public hearing, I would say wait till that time. Okay?
Okay, I'm not exactly sure about the procedure on this, but I'll just talk. So
There you go.
my name's John Polk. I'm a resident in the village, and I'm here to talk about chickens. Is this the right time to talk about chickens?
Perfect. This is
Great.
perfect.
We'll talk chickens. I'm very much in favor of allowing village residents to have chickens in their backyards. My wife, my family, and I would very much like to do that. We've come from a town where a higher density population than Altamont, where chickens were permitted. People loved having them roam around in their yards, and sometimes in protected spaces, sometimes ranging free. I won't read a letter. I'd like to submit the letter to the board, but what I do want to say is that we had circulated a petition through an organization called change.org online. We advertised our petition locally through the Altamont Community Facebook page and also through the enterprise. We started this in January 16th, so just a couple of weeks ago. And as of tonight, we have 127 signatures from folks who are very interested in supporting chickens in Altamont. I'm very encouraged to see other folks here in favor of this as well. I'm aware that of some folks who have written letters to the board as well. So just here to voice our support and submit our petition that, well, I've got 124 names,
Okay.
but just checked my phone and it's got 127 right now, so there are a few more out there as well.
Gotcha.
So anyway,
I would ask you to submit that to our clerk, Patty, and then she'll make sure we all get a copy of that.
very good. So anyway, just encouraging you to reconsider the issue and change the zoning
Okay.
laws to permit chickens.
Is there any, can I just ask, is there anybody else that wants to stand up and speak on the same topic, just while we're on the topic?
128.
Sure.
This is a first for me, and I think it's awesome. Yes, it would be, yes. Hi.
Hi, my name's Bianca, and I have chickens, and I have an egg stand, and I say yes to chickens in Altamont.
Nice.
Nice.
Bianca, thank you for sharing your thoughts. We are going to talk about this shortly, I guess, as far as considering the process, but that's great. How long have you had chickens? 3 years. 3 years? Okay, that's a long time. That's great. Anything else you want to tell us?
I have chickens because I poop out eggs.
Perfect, right?
Perfect. There you go.
My favorite food. I'm serious. Anybody who knows me knows this.
That's true.
That's true, yeah. That's great. Well, thank you very much, unless you have something. There you go, thank you. Nice job, Bianca. Just want to, oh, here, Harvey's. Are you doing the same topic?
No.
Okay, so I was just wondering, we'll get back to that.
Oh, okay.
No, that's good. That's
All
fine.
right,
Just wanted
Harvey
to-
Vallejos, yeah, Main Street. Is there any thought to reinstituting the Zoom meetings for this? It wouldn't cost much or anything, would it?
No, we have our Zoom membership we have kept throughout the pandemic because we have used it recently, because we had a board that had issues with,
Right.
attendance. I know, Allison, I'm going to go to you on this. I know we've gone back and forth with we were Zoom to a point, and then
Right.
we came in when we were kind of directed to do so.
Right.
And I know it's an option, but I think we felt, correct me if I'm wrong, we talked about this 2 meetings ago. Nick?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this board discussed it, and we were
We did.
comfortable meeting, this large room, kind of spread out and with
Yeah.
masks. I think the challenge, and you guys can correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, is if it's really bad and everybody has to go on Zoom, that's one thing. If things are okay and we can do it in person, that's fine. But we don't have a good solution to do a hybrid where we can do
Right.
both people in person and remote. So we kind of have to pick one.
Yeah, we don't have the streaming capability at this time.
And we decided to go with the in-person meeting.
Yeah, a couple of meetings ago, we talked about it to see who was comfortable with what. I think it
Yeah.
was December, maybe it
I was
was.
just, yeah, in terms of the people can't make it and so forth, just a way of keeping up and just seeing the actual, dynamics and things like that. So if you reconsider it, I think it'd be great to just keep it, do
The only
both.
thing I think is at some point, the directive to do that's going to end, and then it's going to end, so we'll be back in person. So to me, I mean, this is the tradition, I would say, the history is we meet in person.
Yeah.
I think we feel like we're more effective that way, because if we have to get materials and whatnot, we can do that, or somebody can run into the office. We did it because we felt it was very necessary, as many people did, but we just don't have the capability of both.
Right. What I was thinking is that everybody could be here and here, but then also just sending it out. When I watched some of the meetings before when they were in, everybody from everybody's house.
Right,
That's where you
right.
did that. Okay, but rather than doing that, is just do one camera here for this board, and then whoever wants to come in person can, and then whoever wants to see it from the house can see it. You can still have all the benefits of exchanging information and, that kind of thing. That's all. I think it would just be beneficial.
We'll think about it. I don't know that we're set up for it, but technology-wise.
Yeah.
That
All
would be
right.
another
The
problem.
other question is, did the village get any, money from the government?
Yes.
How much and what's it going for?
Okay, Catherine may correct me on this. We got about 150,000 total, but we've only gotten half. Am I correct? So we got about 82,000, and then we will get the other half next year when they release the second part of it at that time. We didn't make a decision to do anything right now. Our thought was we have such needs in the sewer department, and we have equipment needed down there. That's one of the items, that's one of the areas that we're looking at once we get some numbers in to see what the piece is that we need that's going to cost a certain amount of money. If that'll cover it, that would be the way to go, because we don't have that in our reserve to pay for.
Okay.
So we're looking at the equipment that's really needed. Water sewer is an area you can use that
Yeah,
money.
okay.
I took a tour of the sewer plant.
Yeah, the sewer
That is-
plants,
that
and-
is true.
yeah. Sure.
It's in regards to the chickens, I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Margie was gonna jump up.
That's okay.
I just wanted to say, I would support that also.
Okay.
If the Village of Altamont would allow chickens. I mean, there's many properties in the village that have old barns on them, and I know that was a different time. But there used to be animals in those. I have a 2,400 square foot barn right now. It's basically just used to collect stuff, and I could put chickens there very easily. You could probably see it from your house there. So I would just wanted to voice my support for that.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Maurice McCormick. Did
Oh,
I say that?
yeah, I think I already wrote your name down as, yes. Anybody else? Oh, come on up.
I guess I'll follow on the chickens too, since I'm here. So I'm also a village resident, and I wanted to just add to the chicken conversation about tick control, because because many people have large yards in the village, and I myself have found ticks in our backyard because the mice are bringing them in, and so it's, that would be an extra benefit of, besides the eggs, obviously. So that's all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have something for public comment? All right. I'm not seeing any motion. Before we move on to the agenda as written, let me just turn it over there. I want to ask the board. So there's a kind of a process about legislation and, amendments to our code. So if you've tuned in a little bit the last couple months to either, maybe that was the zoning board, you might have seen their meeting on Mr. Polk's application for chickens. And it doesn't suit him to get the law changed that way. It doesn't really work legally. So the appeal comes to the village board. I know this is something that we have heard before, and we were happy to hear it in the past. And it didn't go anywhere. It was tabled because support didn't come to the meeting after we had put all the time into legislation and writing that, everything up, the local law, et cetera. And that's okay. So we just didn't move forward with it because there was no one here in the room asking us to that evening during the public hearing. But we do have a process.
Can I say one
Oh,
thing?
yeah.
It wasn't just in person. It's not like, we've gotten lots of letters the past couple weeks.
Sure.
In support of chickens. If I remember correctly, we didn't get anything like that.
We got a few on the opposite view.
Right. Yes,
And
there's
that's all
lots
we
of-
had,
yes.
right.
I just want to mention, it wasn't just that there was nobody in person.
Oh,
We got nothing.
We
from
got
the public.
nothing, no correspondence, there was no support. Sorry, thank you, that's true. But we did get people both in person and through letters, not many, but with the opposite view, or concerns. It wasn't even, they didn't want them, it was more about
Yeah.
concerns and looking at the law in a different light.
The R10 designation.
Right, different zoning, a lot of questions. So, in our own code book, we have 35553 is where amendments to code, we have a process for that. And if someone from the community is asking for a change in zoning and legislation to do that, a local law, they come and they do an application, and we go through that route. The board, of course, then after that would go through a public hearing and all the stuff we've done for other local laws. If this board is in favor of going that route, because we can't have a public hearing tonight. We appreciate everybody's comments, but this will help us get there. It's part of the path. If you're in favor of that, then I would ask Mr. Polk to come in next week and say, okay, the board will move forward with hearing this. Let's have him fill out the application and the details of what you're thinking. Even though we entertained a local law, if there were some issues or concerns brought about it, I'm not going to say we're tied to that law, but it does give us a good jumping off place to look at, and I know you have a copy of that as well. So the board can look at it again, because we haven't looked at it in quite some time. But I would direct him maybe to come in and work with There is an application, he could go through it with our building inspector, and then that'll all come to us, and then we could set the hearing as we get information and things like that. Does that sound?
Does that process apply to his parcel, or would it be something that would apply?
It can, Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, it can be both. It could be, obviously, it could be his own parcel,
Right,
or it
it's-
could be the village code in general. This is the village code. But those are things, that's why the application's there. Those things are indicated. It's not just for, maybe it's not your parcel for your house, but maybe it's for the village as a whole, which is what
Or
they're
a
talking
specific
about.
zoning?
Or a
classification?
specific, yeah, all of that.
Okay, and so he could apply and we could still use that previous law that was drafted? We don't have to
I
start
would
from-
say we would start with that, look
Okay.
at it again, and then look at maybe what you're asking for and see we merge them, or we all work, I mean, that's the whole point. We work on it,
Okay.
have a public hearing on it, and then,
I just don't want to start from ground zero since we already have something.
no, I don't think we have to, but I would like us to follow the process, just because there is a process in place. And, you know, it could be some other concern for about something else, and I just want us to all be, you know, have a consistent process, is what I was thinking.
I'm
Is that-
inclined to have him come next month, have Allison look at it, the one that we had previously, combine the two and just maybe see if it would.
Well, we still got to do the application
Yes, do the
first, and
application
then
first, yes.
talk about the law. All
Yes.
right.
Yeah, sounds good.
So is that okay with you, Michelle? Okay, Mr. Polk, does that make, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be just jumping. Is that okay to work on it that way? If I ask you to come and speak with our building inspector next Tuesday? So I can go through that part of it with him as well this week, and then we'll have something ready for you to take, either fill out with him or sit here and help, you know, work with him on it, or you can take it home and do it, whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, we can work something through. Tuesday nights are challenging for.
Okay, well, he's here Tuesdays and Thursdays. How's Thursday?
I have an email.
Oh, or that's fine. He's really accommodating, as you might know, so. All right, so let's go that direction. Thank you for your comments. All right, sorry. All right, let me move on to our first item, which is our public hearing. Allison, do you have the notice to read?
I do.
Okay, could you do that for us? Thanks.
Notice of public hearing, Village of Altamont. Please take notice that the Village Board of the Village of Altamont will hold a public hearing on February 1st, 2022 at 7:00 PM at the Altamont Village Community Room, 115 Main Street, Altamont, New York, to hear all interested persons on proposed local law number 1 of 2022, entitled "A Local Law to Abolish the Existing Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals and to Create a New Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Altamont." The proposed local law would abolish the existing Village of Altamont Planning Board and Village of Altamont Zoning Board of Appeals and create a new 7-member Zoning Board of Appeals. The purpose in enacting this law is to provide for a more streamlined and efficient procedure for reviewing land use applications in the village while maintaining the same substantive requirements for subdivision and the use and development of land as set forth in the Village of Altamont Code, Chapter 315 subdivision, Chapter 355 zoning. The existing Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals would be abolished, and a new 7-member Zoning Board of Appeals would be established. The new ZBA would exercise the same powers and duties as the current ZBA and Planning Board. There would be no Planning Board after the current board is abolished. The local law would take effect on the date of the Village Board's April 2022 organizational meeting. Members of the new ZBA will be appointed at that time, subject to approval by the Village Board. The appointment of members would be for a term so fixed that one member's term would expire at the end of the year in which such member was appointed, and the remaining members' terms will be fixed so that one member term expires at the end of each official year thereafter. A copy of the proposed local law is available for review at the offices of the village clerk, located at 115 Main Street, Altamont, New York, and on the village's website at altamontvillage.org. All persons desiring to speak, either on behalf of or in opposition to the proposed local law, shall be heard by either attending the public hearing or by submitting written comments in advance of the public hearing to the village clerk at P.O. Box 643, Altamont, New York, or villageclerk@altamontvillage.org. Patty Blackwood, Village Clerk.
It's a long one, thank you. Sorry about that. So before I open up the mic for public comments on this, just to give a quick summary, because a lot of people are here that haven't been here when we discussed this last month. This was an idea that came up a little while ago, you know, looking at some of the applications we've had over the years and how it's gone back and forth. We're looking at ways to streamline the process. Financially, it saves the village money. it uses our members in a way that we're training them and they're retaining training because they're meeting consistently, where some boards don't do that. So all of a sudden, we're training every single year, and it's hard to, put that into practice when you're not meeting. So this is not to, it abolishes both boards, true, but it uses the members, almost all of them it would be, unless somebody decides they didn't want, that are currently serving on both boards, and putting them together. I've spoken to several of them, but before we did anything, we spoke to both the zoning board chairperson and the planning board chairperson, who were in favor of doing this for the reasons that we've been discussing. So there's been input from both boards, their chair people and a couple members, and then our board has discussed it, just, thinking this would be something we would like to talk to the public about. So if you have questions or comments, come on up to the mic and let us know what those are. And we'd love to hear them. Could draw straws. Just saying.
Well, I think you should really keep both boards. I mean, I think that they have complementary functions. And like the whole thing with the stewards, for example, you have two different perspectives on what their jobs are. And I guess, the thing about streamlining, I mean, we don't have a lot of projects, and so I don't know what, streamlining
That's for the applicants,
to expedite.
not for us. It's not for us.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, I mean, it's not that it's that big a deal. We've got tons and tons of projects all lined up, and everybody's got to get them through. You need to take time and really consider what effect it has. I mean, this goes back to the issue of the intent of the planning board and the comp plan, I'm sorry. And, the design to keep the Victorian flavor of the village is really what's very important. I mean, as far as the comp plan goes too, I would like to ask you, it's way past due when it should have been revised, and I was wondering if you have any particular timetable that you're going to do that, which is, what's required. So I'd like to see a revision of that, because that will help create an atmosphere, I guess, give a direction that is current, because right now it's based on something that's fairly old. I was looking at I got online and took a look at the aerial shot of the village, and we have this reputation as being a Victorian village. And if you look at it, and if you take a mental trip down each of the side roads and so forth, we're only looking at about, 35% of the village is really Victorian. Think about going down, let's say, like Euclid, one or two houses, and the rest of them are contemporary. You go down to Lincoln, which is pretty good most of the way, but in the middle on the right. The same thing like going out on 156. There's a few up near the core, but then after that, everything is pretty contemporary. And so we're really kind of losing that feel. Take a look at the aerial view, on Google Earth, and I was going to draw a line, but I couldn't get it to work in time. But you'll see that it's really not that extensive, and we can't afford to do something and put in place something that's going to kind of restrict keeping that flavor of the village, which is kind of what makes us. The other thing is, I don't know, what is the process for reducing it from 10 to 7? When we talked about earlier, when Maurice wasn't reappointed, the idea was, and what I heard from the board, is there are a lot of people that want to serve, and so you're taking 10 positions and dropping it down to 7, so it doesn't seem like it reconciles. The other thing is, let's see. I would also like to see the process opened up more, and by that I mean that if there's going to be an appointment to either someone leaves, like any of the boards, village board, planning board, zoning board, referral committee, anything that will materially impact the village, that should be put out there as a public announcement so that people can apply for these positions. I know 3 people One has a master's in planning, another one works for a state department, a department in the state that actually does interface with villages for small projects like that we often encounter. And another one was a planning board member in another small town. And I'd like to see that process codified. Kind of based on past experience. Amend the law one. And add that into the laws, make it part of that, which I think will also increase the perception of transparency and openness, so that all of these positions are open to anyone in the village. And we do have a lot of very qualified and experienced people that can really help in a lot of these decisions, as zoning decisions, planning decisions, things like that. But I really do think that the planning function is different than the zoning function.
Okay, thank you. Hey.
Before I walk down here, so.
Oh, you're staying after.
I'm in big trouble. As you know, I'm a technical person and have lived this. And I first want to acknowledge that I understand where this is coming from and the concerns that the boards have had and this board has had about staffing the two groups. But I have a concern and a question. The concern is the intent of having those two boards is a checks and balance, just like any government agency, multiple divisions of any government. So I'm concerned that there may be potential loss in trying to streamline this of differing opinions, the checks and balances within a board and within two boards. So I just need the village board to consider that, if you haven't already, as part of the discussions about what I think is a potential loss of viewpoint. The question I have, which is kind of a concern, is I think your time frame may be a little bit tight to achieve this, because unless it's already been put in place, I've only seen the law, not the changing of the ordinance. And they really can't say it in April if that ordinance doesn't change, because they don't have a document that's current to work from. That ordinance currently has all sorts of paragraphs all through it, very specifically for the zoning board and the planning board. So I'm not sure how you're going to meld that in a time frame if you do decide to go forward with that.
Thanks. Anybody else? Yeah, come on up.
Maurice McCormick. And these guys brought up some good points, and I would support also to keep the two boards.
Maurice, can I ask you a favor?
Yes.
Can you just take a step towards the microphone, because it won't show up at home? Sorry, thank you.
Oh, okay. These guys brought up a couple good points, and I would support keeping the two boards. And it seems like, I guess there's a few reasons for why you want to combine the two. But one of the reasons is you're not able to get people, I guess. Point to the board, you got lack of volunteers or something like that?
No, we're looking at the function of the boards, actually, that was the main thing. The function of it, streamlining for applicants, financial savings for the village.
Right.
All, those are the three main reasons what we've been talking about.
Okay, I
I mean, we have members of those
boards.
boards. We have, actually, like I said, we have wonderful people on both, but we're looking at the function of it, and how other municipalities, just a little bigger than us, still villages, have done this as well.
Right.
And that it seems to work very well for them. Allison actually works with another municipality where this is in place. And so it just seemed like, well, if there are some areas for us that would both help the applicants that come forward, whether it's a business or subdivision, whatever it is, and we can actually, it helps them, it helps the village, And then the training's a big part, because you took place in some of the training at the end, the last couple, we're in our 4th year of formal training for both boards.
Right.
And I think it's great. We've had different people come in and train the boards. And one board meets probably I'm just gonna guess, it's not, maybe about 8 times a year.
But
And they're using their training, and I feel like another board doesn't get that opportunity, so it's harder for them when they do have something come in front of them because they were trained one day, a year ago, type of a thing. And I think this would help that, because we would train both, the 2 functions. You would train them for both functions, and they have to look at things differently. You still have to look at the zoning issues with the 5
Right.
questions, and then planning has their own set of standards. So that's how we're looking at it.
But looking at the history of the zoning board and the planning board, I mean, how much different is it now than it's been in the last 10 years or whatever, as far as the number of applicants that have come forward? I mean, I understand the Stewarts was a big deal, and they had to go back and forth quite a bit. But, I mean, how many more projects are you gonna have like that in the village? And I know when I was on the zoning board, there wasn't a lot of times where we had to send somebody back to the planning board. I mean, everything seemed to get done at one time. And the other question I had is, when you're looking for people to be on the zoning board and the planning board, what is your procedure? What is the village's procedure to get people?
To reach out. Same as it's always been, even when Harvey was here. Basically, if there's a spot, I reach out to the trustees and I ask them if they would like to spread the word, and do they know anybody that would be interested in doing this. We have some people who have reached out to us. So the last person who reached to us was appointed, and it was somebody who had an interest. They ran for an election, and I thought they'd be a great fit then, because they wanted to really work with the village. So it's gone both ways. We've had people reach out, and then we know when we have a spot open.
Right.
Or I've asked our, trustees to see if they know neighbors or friends that would be interested in working with the village. That's always been the way.
Yeah, but would you think, because people have come up to me and they've been, I've told them, if you're interested, go over there.
Absolutely.
And like Harvey said, there's a lot of people in the village that just aren't connected with maybe some of the board members. And would the village ever consider putting in an advertisement, like some of the nearby towns do, in the Altamont Enterprise? And I think that would be a great way to recruit people and probably to end the problem of finding people, because I think you would find that many more people that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not shutting the door on that. I think that's something we can look at in the future. We haven't had an issue, so as far as filling the spots, but, which.
See, I'm not to interrupt, I apologize for interrupting, but I'm getting conflicting stories on that.
I'm
Where
just telling you where I'm coming from. We have, our boards are full. They've been full.
they're both full right now, then
They don't
maybe-
have the alternates because we started talking about this, and I did not want to appoint people that might not be part of this. If this was something that we were going to go forward with,
Yeah.
we have left those positions open right now. Just because, again, they would be appointed, and then if we did move forward with this kind of a move.
Oh, I understand that.
Then they would lose that position. That seems
Right.
silly for the time that they would put in.
Okay.
So everything else has been full, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I think I've seen some of the hill towns put advertisements in the enterprise
okay.
in regards to looking for board members, zoning board members, planning board members, stuff like that.
Okay.
But you would be open to doing something like that?
Yeah.
If need be.
If need be, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Again, I just support keeping the 2 boards.
Okay.
I think at one point, I think the zoning board handled a lot of what I think maybe there was
It was
just
the
one.
opposite, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes, you're
then, was
correct.
it during Jim Gaughan's tenure that
it
got
switched, Dean
more
was,
formally?
Dean was involved in that, you could, it switched with the comprehensive plan, right, and the duties when the zoning was
Right.
updated?
That was specifically.
Come on up. Zoning history,
That was specifically done at the time in 2007, whenever it was.
something like that.
Because the planning board was not meeting at all,
Right.
if I remember correctly. So the intent was to have the planning board more informed of some of the potential changes
Mm-hmm.
that were not necessarily ZBA items, but
Right.
they weren't aware when something came before the planning board, because they didn't realize that had been changed. So contrary to some municipalities, there was a bit of a flip to where the planning board took on special use permits, but that kept them informed of some of the changes in the village. So when there was a planning issue, that was the intent, when there was a planning issue, they were already aware of some of the changes that they had made, maybe not being aware of that if the ZBA had made those changes.
Right.
What's happened is the ZBA tends to not sit as much as they used to.
Right, it literally has flip-flops, so I almost feel like the concerns back then are similar now, but on the opposite side. So again, we're looking to, again, find a way to have this work for both applicants, the village, and board members. So it is an idea to, I mean, fiscally, it does help us as well, financially.
Does the board have a number on the amount of money they would save on doing something like this? I mean,
Not a concrete, no, nothing,
No.
not a concrete number, no.
because that would be helpful.
Yep,
Okay, that's all I got.
thank you.
I'm still in favor of the chickens.
Okay. Chickens too.
Just a couple of quick follow-ups. I mean, you mentioned money. I'm assuming that you have some sort of an idea of what it is. I can't imagine it's very extensive in terms of what you're saving.
I don't have a number for you right now, Harvey.
But why make a decision on something you don't have a number on? And the second thing, as far as training goes, if you're going to be trained in ZBA issues, and then you're going to be trained in planning board issues, it's the same number of hours, whether you have one board or two boards. I mean,
Yeah, I know that.
Okay,
They
so-
do training together.
Okay.
They do a mass training together.
all right, so they will.
Zoning and planning.
But it doesn't seem like you're going to be
It's something we
saving-
instituted about 4 years ago to make sure that we had both boards comfortable with the kind of applications that they were going to be dealing with, and it has gone very well, and feedback from all of the members was that this has been one of the best moves we've made.
All right.
So the training's great, and they do it together, so.
Okay.
Anybody else want to give us a comment or two? I'm seeing no movement right now. So as far as the board goes, if we don't have anybody else, I'm just going to talk in public comment right now, personally. I'm actually going to ask us to hold this over to next month. In the law, as it was available, there was one miscommunication with, we had it right and then changed it. It just got, the wrong piece got crossed off. So it's actually, what we were proposing was a 7-member board, but 2 alternates, having someone always prepared to fill in. And if you're on a planning board, people could tell you they definitely, alternates do serve. They meet so much, there's generally somebody who can't make something, we have an alternate serves, they give input and things like that. Yes, sir?
So you're talking a total of 9 or a 5-member board?
7-member board, but 5 and 2. So we had the 5 on there, it got rephrased as 7, it was worded wrong, yes.
So the voting membership is 5.
Yes, like a regular board.
It's not what they say so far.
If I can just,
7-member board, it's not a 7-member.
No,
if I can.
but I was just saying with 2 alternates, that's, yeah, go
I
ahead.
think it was the miscommunication in drafting the local law that was introduced. In the existing law, the ZBA is a 5-member board with 1 alternate. The discussion was about, increasing that to 7, but the intent was a 5-member board with 2 alternates. But in the local law that I drafted, I changed the voting membership from 5 to 7. So I think what Carrie is saying, you're proposing that, would the board consider, if you want to make that change, to essentially not do the amendment, increasing the voting membership of the ZBA to 7, keeping it at 5, but instead of the 1 alternate that's in the existing law, we would change that to 2 alternates.
That was what we discussed at the last meeting. I didn't catch it on here until recently. And the only reason it's a problem, and it's not a huge problem, it's a timing, any law that we're considering has to be available for so many days prior to looking at that. So again, it would just be, keeping it open for other comments as well, but that, so people can sit and look at that as well. So I don't know how the board feels about that. I didn't close it. Nope, come on up.
I have to take issue with that.
Okay,
What's been represented in the document posting for the public hearing may have been an error. But when you started the conversation tonight, you talked about a 7-member board. And your intent was to have more people sitting on that board voting. That's not what you're now talking about.
oh, my phrasing was off then, Dean, I didn't even realize I said it that way. It was
did.
not intentional, well, okay, I did. If I did, I did.
That's a totally different thing.
Well,
Okay.
and I'll just say, I read the public hearing notice, which talks about a 7-member board, which is what is in the local law that was introduced. I think what the board is talking about now is making a revision to the introductory version of the local law, that we would then keep the public hearing open, renotice it for the public,
That-
give an
that's what I was-
additional
yes.
opportunity for people to comment, with the clarification that it would be a 5-member voting board with 2 alternates.
So that's what I've been reading. So if my phrasing was reading, it's from the law, I apologize. I was trying to make it clear. That was my issue with that. This was phrased not how we talked about it last month. So that's what I'm asking the board. What do you want to do with that? Because I'm happy to hold that over, so we can have the clarification, the amendment to it, so that it's sitting for everyone to see.
I'm fine with it moving it to another month at that.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. So we can discuss it, we can.
But are you okay with 5 and 2, like we had talked
That
about
was
briefly
originally
last
voting.
month? That was my
Yes. That would be
introduction.
5 voting, 2 alternates.
Right, like we have now, we have 5
That's
voting,
correct.
was the, but,
I mean, I guess I've never spent that much time thinking about the pros and cons of 5 versus 7 members, so I guess I'm curious, what's wrong with the 7-member board and 2 alternates versus a 5-member? Does it complicate things like majority or supermajority or getting a quorum, or are there drawbacks to a 7-member board?
It does change the quorum requirement. You need more people in attendance for a quorum with a 7-member board than a 5.
Is it by one person?
Yeah, it's 4 members for
4.
a quorum on a 7-member board.
Is that the only drawback?
Also, the terms would be 7-year staggered terms. So, I mean, it's a longer term than what you had in the existing law. The way we have it written up now, it would be 7 voting members, each to serve a term of 7 years. The way it is in your existing law is 5 members to serve a term for 5 years. So, that's another difference.
Yeah, 7 years sounds like a sentence.
it does. It's tricky. You have to have people that are, really committed to the village and doing that work. I wasn't trying to change the voting, the way we vote for these applications. I wasn't trying to increase it or decrease it either way, just, so I just felt like the extra alternate is just helpful, because we do this training, we have them trained. So if somebody leaves the board, you have somebody else also ready to move right into the alternate spot, and the other alternate move right into the
Yes.
board spot.
Sorry, and my microphone wasn't on, so I'll just summarize again. I was just trying to understand if there's a drawback to having 7 members versus 5 members. I totally agree, having more alternates is probably better, but just thinking out loud, that's all.
Well, Michelle, are you good with 5, or do you want to stay with 7? Or would you be
I'm good
okay with the
with-
5?
I'm
You
happy
served
with
on
it.
a zoning board, so I'm going to go with some experience.
I
here.
was happy with the 5. I do like the 2 alternate suggestion instead of 1.
All right, John and you, I can't see you, sorry, I
Oh, sorry.
apologize.
I said the 5 and the 2 alternates.
Nick, will you be okay if we,
Yeah, I'm the only
Make
one
the
that hasn't
amendment.
served on one of those boards, so.
you are the, that's right, John served as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were planning though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So at this time, I would like, if Allison, if you would be okay with revising the law accordingly,
Yes.
we will have that out. It'll be out and pushed out. Public hearing will stay open till next month as well. And so if you have other thoughts that come to you, then, bring them to that meeting, look at it. Once we have it up for you to see, we'll get that out as soon as we can online. And we'll just table the rest until next month. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Let's move on. Let me find my agenda here.
Does that mean we table the next 2 items?
Yes, so I'm going to move to, because of that change, I'm going to move to item 4 on the agenda, which is a consider awarding the general construction contract for the Altamont Fire Department repairs project to AJS Masonry Incorporated at the low bid cost of $106,100. Accept bid alternate number 2, canopy replacement at a cost of $8,714. Accept all unit pricing for future consideration and authorize Mayor Denine to execute the necessary paperwork. which is the notice of award, notice to proceed, the agreement, change order, certificate of substantial completion, checks for contractor payment, et cetera. For contract initiation and completion of work per recommendation of Delaware Engineering, DPC. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Nick and Michelle is second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. That's for you, Dean. That's a long time coming. We're working on the facade.
It'd be nice to see it. So
Yeah.
remind me what the final result was, is the front facade and
Yes.
some slab work, right?
Yes.
It's slab, I can show you after. It's slab work under the new one. It's the part of the facade. It's tying back parts that are bowing out, and it's redoing the apron.
Canopy replacement.
And canopy replacement.
Canopy replacement, too.
Yes.
It'll look nice.
Yeah, yeah. Item number 5 on the agenda, consider approval of applications from Lance Peck, Guilderland, and John Russell Cochran, Altamont, for firefighter memberships in the Altamont Fire Department per request of Paul Miller, Chief. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Nick is first, and second
I'll second it.
is John. Can I have roll call, please?
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Item number 6, consider authorizing Mayor Denine to sign RBC Wealth Management letter authorizing RBC Wealth Management to issue payment of $12,694.89 to Mark Huggins, Altamont Fire Department member. Mr. Huggins is withdrawing the second installments equal to his December 31st, 2021 account balance, and there is no village impact. Can I have a motion, please? Michelle is first, and second is?
I'll second it.
John is second. And roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Item 7, consider appointment of Jason, I'm going to say this wrong, I think, I apologize, Jason McCaney? I did it right, excellent. Latham to part-time police officer, not to exceed 20 hours per week at a salary of $15 per hour per recommendation of Jason Johnson, Chief. Position is probationary for a period of up to 1 year. After successful completion of probation, salary will increase to $16 per hour. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
John is first, and second
I'll second.
is Nick. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Welcome, happy to have you. Thanks for coming on board, appreciate it. Item number 8, consider changing budget workshop dates to Thursday, February 24th, Thursday, March 3rd, and Thursday, March 24th, if needed, at 6 p.m. Could I have a motion, please? Michelle, second.
I'll second.
Nick, and roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Consider approval of minutes. This is item number 9. Consider approval of board minutes for January 4th, 2022. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Ooh, they tied on that one.
That's right, you can have it.
All right, she says you can have it. So John is first and Michelle is second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. And before I get to item 10, does anybody on the board have anything they want to talk about before we leave? Or Allison, anybody good? Everybody's good? Okay.
I think so.
So item 10 is consider a motion to adjourn. Can I have a motion?
So moved?
Nick is first and second.
I'll do it.
Michelle, I was going to say they don't want to leave. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Nobody. So thank you very much for coming out. We will see you next month. Stay warm. I think it's going to get cold again.
Budget workshop before then?
Oh, yes, I apologize. Budget workshops are before the next board meeting, yes. I'll see you at that.
Absolutely.